In order to build a successful ecosystem for EVs in the future, solutions need to be constructed keeping both the automotive and the energy sectors in mind. Now we have a fireside chat on creating sustainable EV ecosystem with Dr. P. Anbalagan, Chief Executive Officer, MIDC, and Shruti Mishra, Correspondent, ETAuto.com.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to EV Conclave 2021. This is Shruti Mishra, and after so many insightful panel discussions, it's time for a quick fireside chat with Dr. P. Anbalagan, CEO of MIDC, which is Maharashtra Industrial Development Council. Hello, sir. A very warm welcome to the conclave.
Thank you, Shruti, and greetings from Maharashtra Industrial Development Corporation and also the state government of Maharashtra.
So we'll start with a bit of backgrounder. If we talk about the state of Maharashtra, from the automotive perspective, Maharashtra is a leading state for the local domestic automobile sector in India. And because the state itself contributes to over 35% of the country's output of automobiles by value. So can you elaborate on how this has been achieved thus far?
Shruti, I think we know automobile sector being one of the core pillar of our national economy, and our country not just represents 1/3 of the global output, but we are one of the largest vehicle markets. I think for another, I think coming 4 years, India is supposed to become the third largest market for the vehicles globally. And secondly, the state, Maharashtra state, as its name goes with the great nation, so plays a leading part and in fact a pivotal part in this entire success story. With powerhouses, I would say Pune, Nasik, Aurangabad triangle, and also Nagpur, the state accounts for something more than like 20% of India's automobile output. When it comes for vehicles, and it's almost close to like 50%. And some of the biggest names I would say in automobile industry, both our like domestic and international, such as Tata Motors, we have Mahindra and Mahindra, Mercedes-Benz, Volkswagen, to name a few, were all having manufacturing units in our state. Being one of the most, I would say, developed ecosystem for an automobile hubs, both for, I would say, original equipment manufacturers, vehicles, assembly segments, the state provides itself a limitless opportunities for the manufacturers, innovators, R&D, and also for the suppliers. The state has one of the best supply chain for the automobile sector. The state government, of course, has always given the sector its due importance, and the sector is one of the trust sectors for us, even the new industrial policy. And this growth story is not like, I would say, years or maybe it's more than a two decades growth. It started with like Pune, with like major giants dropping in Pune. Now Pune, Chakan, Talegaon corridor has become one of the major, I would say, manufacturing hub in the entire Asia. I think the state now it has given a much needed importance, even like other allied sectors, and is trying to give maybe the world-class infrastructure facilities with like the city like Arik coming up and city like Manga High Tech City coming up. So now we are going to change the sea change given in the infrastructure which we are going to provide.
So when we talk about the local domestic automobile industry today, EV is an exciting buzz that we are hearing from the longest period of time. So what has been Maharashtra approach towards developing EV policies or helping the EV startups that are coming or that are sprouting these days? There are so many startups that are willing to come on board. So what kind of help from the state government these budding industries or budding startups can get?
I would say the like EV is going to be a sunrise sector, and more than the mobility, it is a matter of, I would say, sustainable mobility. With a background in like an environmental administration, with like 4 years as a member secretary of Pollution Control Board, I'm maybe the first person to appreciate what exactly the importance of electric vehicle is going to be there. With like carbon neutrality and also into like, I would say, more like million cities coming into pollution load, we say even if you go into like any cities, 60 to 70% of the components, be it like suspended particulate matter 10 or 2.0, you have like nitrogen elements, lead, anything, cadmium, everything is coming from vehicular emission. So the moment we're going to like change, we are going to phenomenally and drastically change the basically what exactly the, I would say, social infrastructure, the clean air. So EV sector has much more than only the mobility, and it's more of a sustainable mobility for like preparing for the future. And the state, as we always say, the progressive state, we have a like tremendous and optimistic outlook on the entire global drive, which is like inching towards electric vehicle technology, and also preparing ourselves to adopt the technology on much wider scale. And state has taken a definitely I think I would say the many number of like steps in direction, having its own electric vehicle policy, one of the states to declare its own electric vehicle policy, and where we not only the vehicles but also the entire ecosystem is being like I would say given a push. For example, if I say the policy aims to generate something close to around 3.5 billion investments in another like 2 to 3 years, both in like OEM and also in like I would say electric vehicle and assembly segment, and also in the battery segment. And it's also aiming to generate close to a lakh in employment. And the entire businesses in the ecosystem are going to be given a full of support. And of course, the state is top in, I would say, the innovation. So the EV is also not the area where we are going to leave it to the sky. So the state is also all up to the R&D and other thing. And with this strong electric vehicle policy, where like a benchmark investments also has been tremendously reduced to accommodate maximum units in, I would say, industrial promotion subsidy. The state aims to promote R&D, innovation, and also, I would say, the needs of skill development, upscaling of skills of whatever like requisite skills required. And the entire existing auto component manufacturing hubs also will be like strengthened in cities like Kolhapur and maybe in like Nagpur. So all these places are going to be given, I would say, much more thrust. And because the state is going to have a full thrust on R&D, I think the youth of the state is also going to be having a much more opportunity to participate in the growth story.
Certainly, the policy is touching some of the crucial points related to EV ecosystem in the state. So when we talk about any such new technology, so we all know that every such step or every new step in any kind of technology or any type of industry needs some kind of hand holding from the state government. So what are the fiscal and non-fiscal incentives that the state offers for the players of the EV sector?
Thank you. It's right. I would say that one of the pertinent questions in the entire, I would say, the chat is going to be, because the state and the entire country needs to overstress to accommodate this emerging technology. Because from lab to, I would say, land, and when we are going to like customize a new technology from a very conventional system of like a fossil fuel driven entire mobility, we have come slowly to railway sector, where we are depending on like electricity in most of the major routes. So here the state has given a much, I would say, the phenomenal thrust to the sector. For example, in the state, for any project of other nature, to qualify as a mega project, the companies are supposed to invest close to 1,500 crores in areas of A and B. That's like so-called developed or emerging areas. Whereas in C and D plus, it ranges from 350 to, I would say, 750 crores. But see, in the electric vehicle, which also going to be one of the component for like electronics and other related things. So the state has phenomenally reduced the benchmark investment for the units so as to qualify as mega projects. For example, the areas where we are like so-called emerging areas or maybe developed areas, A and B, the EV manufacturing units with a fixed capital investment of, I would say, 250 crores are employing 500 persons, either are going to be given a mega project status. And as far as C, D, and D plus. So entire Marathwada, even Aurangabad is going to be D and D plus, and entire Vidarbha is going to be D and D plus, where the manufacturing units with an FCF just 100 crore are employing only 250 persons will be granted mega status. Whereas originally for original equipment manufacturer, original sector, it's going to be somewhere between 750, 350 to 1,500 crore. So from this simple element, I think the states, you can understand what exactly the state is going to aim to achieve. And if I come to our large projects, in regular policy, someone has to invest 4,000 crores to get an ultra mega status. And also here, someone is investing 1,500 crores, which otherwise would have got only the mega, is going to get ultra mega status. So across the state, they are going to be eligible for 100% of the state GST refunds in case of all the ultra mega projects, C, D, and D plus. Whereas in case of A and B, they will be getting 50% of the SGST refunds for the mega project and 100% for the ultra mega project. So here also a special thrust for a large projects. So the projects which are not qualified as mega, but they are going to be qualified as large. Whereas in case we go to regular manufacturing, it goes somewhere between like more than like 50 crores and less than 350 crores. But here any component manufacturer who is going to invest 10 crores will be granted large project status. The second component is the support infrastructure, like basically charging stations. The state also takes care of charging stations where 25% of the capital subsidy is being like envisioned for each, I would say, each charging stations, and it's going to be limited up to 10 lakhs per station. But initially the policy says initially 250 commercial public EV charging stations. But of course, state is seriously thinking to increase those numbers to accommodate major cities like Nagpur, Pune, Mumbai, Nasik, and Aurangabad to begin with. And thirdly, the customers, clients. So how come you can bring them from like regular conventional vehicles into that? One is a public transport. The state is going to subsidize the, I would say, passenger buses registered in the state, which is going to provide a public or private transport on a much larger scale to the extent of like 10% of the total scale, and maximum is 220 lakhs per vehicle. It's going to change, phenomenally change. The Mofazil services which normally happen between like Kolhapur, Pune, maybe Solapur, Pune, Ahmednagar, all can be on vehicle, and even like Mumbai, Ahmednagar, Mumbai, Aurangabad can all be on vehicle level. Anything between like 350 kilometers, they can go. If you have like charging stations, even can go up to 400, 500 kilometers. Then lastly, the customers, I would say the buyers of the 2-wheelers, 3-wheelers, and 4-wheelers. So 3-wheeler normally predominantly for auto and auto rickshaws and allied, and 2-wheeler and 4-wheeler for the customers. There are also states proposes 50% of the subsidy in the base price. Those state has a minimum of like 70,000 units for the 2-wheeler and 20,000 units for 3-wheeler and 10,000 units for 4-wheeler. But depending on the response, state will definitely is going to increase these numbers. And of late, close to 5 crores rupees being disposed only for this individual, I think, I would say customer-related incentives.
If we talk about the 6-7 months of stringent lockdown, during that period, MIDC has undertaken a lot of initiatives to help and support businesses during the early lockdown days, such as creation of plug-and-play infrastructure with ready-to-use factory spaces, land parcels are marked for the industries. There was an accelerated permissions model, which is Mahaparvana, which grants permissions as quickly as within 48 hours. And also a state-operated job portal, which was Mahajobs, a dedicated country desk for unified search platform for jobs. And there are many more. So can you, sir, just quickly shed lights on what are the key initiatives taken during that period and in the future, and the response that you receive from them?
I would say even before going into that new normal, or when the like lockdown is going to be like relaxed, the initial challenge was to maintain the supply chain for essential products, predominantly pharmaceutical, sanitizer, medical equipments, and secondly the food products. So maintaining the supply chain during the lockdown was the first challenge to the industry department. And MIDC has taken a mandate. Though we say MIDC caters to close to more than 60-65% of the industries, still more than like 35 to 40% of the industries are outside the MIDC. But MIDC has taken a mandate on its own and started its like a self-certification portal, like permission.midcindia.org, where the companies were like facilitated to obtain the certificate by a self-certification, so that like their movement mobility, both for the men and women, for of course for the staff, and also for the mobility of the freight, particularly the products. So close to a lakh of permissions have been like obtained during that, and that has, I would say, received a tremendous response and appreciation from the industry across the state, and it was well appreciated at the national level. This one. Secondly, with the changing realm and changing, I would say, the economic recovery plan, the state has to think something different from other states so as to like maintain its momentum in competition, retaining its, I would say, the number one position in investment, both domestic and I would say FDI. The state, under our leadership of our Honorable Chief Minister and also with our Minister Industries for the guidance, they started a magnetic Maharashtra, the reforms under the name like Magnetic Maharashtra 2.2. Honorable Chief Minister has unveiled those reforms in June 2020, which are predominantly, like I would say, fourfold, with we have additional supplementary items. One is like a plug and play infrastructure. Though we would say Maharashtra Industrial Development Corporation or any other industrial development corporation has for any other purpose, we claim that we give plug and play infrastructure. Of course, we do plug and play infrastructure from the very beginning. For a trunk, like we give a road, we have a gutters, we have a street light, we have an electricity, we have a water, we have a effluent treatment conveyance system, treatment system, all that. But we'll give the land. So land being like becoming a more scarce and like a costly thing. So it's going to be more than some smaller units, particularly MSMEs. It's going to be more than 10 to 15% of the total investment. The state has thought that we should like facilitate such a investment. So then thought of like a plug and play infrastructure with a worksheets and a short-term rentals. Where like state has identified more than 40,000 acres, and in the first phase, 6,000 acres are earmarked for only worksheets, where the state-of-the-art worksheets with all the amenities and utilities in an area of 500 square meter to 5,000 square meter. The worksheets, factory sets will be constructed by MIDC, starting from like Buchiburi, Aurangabad, Dindori, and Mangaon, Kalapur, and also in Ranjangaon and Talegaon, Chakan. So this will predominantly aid in two aspects. One, any anchor unit coming can bring in their captive vendors, where the state takes, I would say, rather the MIDC takes a mandate to provide them build up structures within 3 to 4 months time. On short-term rentals, the company can hire it for 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, maybe during the course of like hiring it, or maybe during the course of the operation when their cash flow improves, the company or the plot owner can own the plot and the facility. So instead of like conventionally we give up to like 95 years lease, the short-term rentals are thought of, and the rentals are also more subsidized. I would say, if it is in Ranjangaon and Chakan, the rentals are like 22 to 25 rupees per square feet. MIDC aims to provide the rental somewhere between 12 to 15, not more than that. So that way the initial investment is taken care of, and immediately they can say, it's a plug and play. You come and commission your production. So secondly, the cutting edge permission, I would say the game changer will be the Mahaparvana. So you need more than like 100 permissions from more than 20 odd departments. Out of that, there are 19 permissions which are very crucial to begin the construction and begin the operation, commercial operation. The state has taken a mandate of this mega permit or a single permit, where state guarantees such permissions within 48 hours, with undertaking that if the other permissions do not follow within the timeline, the deemed approvals will be given. And the company can go ahead with the, like I would say, pre-establishment, like construction in case of a plot and commissioning in case of a workshop. This Mahaparvana is really a game changer. So initially we thought that we will restrict it to only 50 crore and above, but now this is going to be decentralized to divisional level and also district level. Third, I would say the Mahajobs portal. We have seen during lockdown, particularly migration, large number of migrations, though they are more into, I would say, real estate and construction workers. But of course, the manufacturing industry do suffer a bit. So this Mahajobs portal is trying to, I would say, link the employer and also the employees, I would say future employees. So the portal is an automatic portal which is being run by a professional HR agency. It's trying to like assist companies in recruiting men and women for those companies, and it caters to more than 17 sectors and in around 950 plus skill sets. Maybe the very, very unique and innovative idea in the entire country landscape. And the recruiting or the cost of recruitment also being borne by the government. Not suppose someone X company is going to hire 100 people. So my HR firm is going to facilitate, select the guys, do a preliminary screening, document verification, and give a 1:2 or 1:3, depending on that, send it to the company. So for that entire process, I'm going to pay close to 2,000 rupees per candidate to the HR firm. So the company is not going to do. So to begin with, it's more like a service to them. Finally, I would say it's like customer first. So the relationship manager and the relationship executive. So where we do like every company which is having an MOE with us, or any company investing more than 50 crore will be given a dedicated relationship manager. We have also recruited quite a number of like young mind who are having a like marketing background and engineering background to facilitate as like I would say Maharashtra investment fellows, who has a I would say the relationship executives. These four things made tremendous change, and I think I would say revived the trust which was always there with us. So the state has done 3 editions of MOU during this lockdown. One was in June, where we have done 14 companies, and another was in November. We have done MOU with 15 companies, and another was, the last one was in December, 25 companies. So altogether, we have done an MOU with 54 companies. So more than 1.12 lakh crore of investment is being committed. I'm just having a much pleasure and happy to share with you I would say the listeners and viewers and my colleagues here, that out of that 36 companies are already been allotted land or final stages of land, and 9 companies which are more into like in electronics and data centers, their allotment and transfer process will be completed by this month end, like March. And another 7-8 companies, the final acquisition process is there. By end of, I think, April, is all the 54 barring one Chinese company, which government of India has to clarify us. We are going ahead with, I would say, the grounding up actual investment. So not only this, MIDC honors a regular investment, like we do have a land allotment committees, and we do do a bidding process. We do direct allotment for expansion and a new allotments for new areas. So quite close to around 1,600 acres been allotted, and for an investment of more than 15,000 crore. And if you can see the FDI figure for the last year, it's again close to 80,000 crore. That way the state could mobilize more than 2 lakh crores. It's a number which is like in a period of like pandemic, it's a phenomenon. So that's what like state has done. And not only to do with that, the state is also, I would say, expanding its ambit, reaching out to the trust countries like I would say USA, UK, Korea, Japan, I would say Sweden, Germany, France, and where we are also having an agreement and MOU with organizations like United States India Strategic Partnership Forum, then for America, like USA, then also United Kingdom India Business Council for UK, Quatra for Korea, like JETRO for I would say Japan, and WIPA, World Association of Investment Promoters for Global Investors. I would say, other than Invest India, MIDC is the only state IDC which is a part of WIPA, World Association of Investment Promotion Agencies for Global Investors. Now we have a global outreach program. Hopefully, I think that also is going to pay us much more dividend in the coming future.
Undoubtedly, these are some of the very commendable moves and steps taken by MIDC along with the state government. So lastly, I would like to touch upon the recent step taken by the government of India. So the Ministry of MSME and Government of India recently gave approval for setting up a common facility center in the auto engineering cluster at MIDC near Nagpur. So tell us about this initiative and who the beneficiaries will be.
To begin with, I think the cluster development has a long history, and the state was, I would say, Shruti, phenomenal in promoting such initiatives, either from Government of India or from even from the state government side. Before going to Nagpur, we do have a Nasik engineering cluster, Aurangabad auto cluster, and this is a third of it. So you can say the Nagpur and Aurangabad clusters command almost the entire country. For a customization, testing, standardization, they do that. And third is like now we are having a Nagpur. The state has policy. Any cluster comes in, state gives a land at much subsidized rate. Particularly auto, also we have partnered in some of the places. Whereas in the electronic cluster, the state funds almost more than 30 to 40% from MIDC. Here, very specific to go with like Hingana auto cluster, which has been approved recently by MSME Ministry. it's going to cater to almost wide range of, I would say, common utilities. So suppose if I'm having an auto component manufacturer, so to set up, I would say a fabricant unit, I would say even like a CNC terminals, or even I would say vertical milling system on a 5-axis, or even a wire cut machine, even a laser cutting machine. So I need a lot of money. And secondly, designing, basically testing in the lab and designing, and also training a manpower. So it's literally impossible for a MSME to cope up with. So this is going to be a game changer for Nagpur. Nagpur is emerging as strongly emerging as an aerospace, defense, and auto cluster. And defense, wherever defense, it's predominantly auto. Entire the world, if you see wherever the defense clusters are there, they're more like an engineering companies, fabrication and auto. Basically, because it's more of a motion and propulsion related. So any engineering the student will recognize that. So wherever the auto components are going to be there, you have a strong like an aerospace and other allied sectors. So here the cluster is going to have various categories of product. You have like engineering and fabrication. It's also going to have a steel furniture, of course, SPM auto parts, and also other engineered products, even electrical engineering services and precision machining, sheet metal pressed components, and also control panels. So here, this CFC, particularly this common facility, is going to be equipped with a common processing center for, I would say, CNC turn mills, vertical milling cluster, wire cut machine, as I was mentioning, like laser cutting machine, and also provisions for lab testing, design and training center. These are going to be provide really the world class, I would say, the quality services to entrepreneurs at a much subsidized cost. That's what we are going to. And the Nagpur, with already we have a large players like Mahindra and Mahindra, is going to be like expanding, and just we are looking at quite a large chunk of land in Hingana. So we have shown some land in Tuticorin, but they are comfortable in Hingana. So we are also going to facilitate that. And of course, we have an Ashok Leyland, and with as I was mentioning, defense, there are a lot of ordnance factory around. And BGL has taken, Bell has taken a land in Butiburi, BDL has taken in Amravati. And because of this Boeing and other things, it's also becoming a more like a maintenance and I would say MRO, maintenance, repair and overall units. So really it's going to be doing a commendable job. And I think Nagpur is going to have a better time as far as auto sector is concerned.
All right, Mr. Anbalagan, thank you for highlighting the pertinent steps taken by MIDC to establish a complete EV ecosystem in this state. Pleasure talking to you.
Thank you so much, Shruti. And also thank you for the organizers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Anbalagan and Shruti. Ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned and let the tweets coming using the hashtag ETAuto EVC.